Okay, Rabbi say. Today's a very big day. Always is. But today's something yuchid. Is it loud enough or no? Yeah? It's loud enough? Today's a miyuchadik day. Very miyuchid. Three parts. The shir will be in three parts. What are the three parts of the shir? So there's one part. Welcome home. The one part is I have to deal with today to explain, that shaila about tzarech gufay, the shaila tzarech mekayimai. We have to deal with that shaila. When is it that I have to avoid the situation of moving muksa, and when do I not have to avoid the situation of moving muksa, klishmat liyaser? That's a big topic. We have to get there, Mitzvah Shem. That's the last real topic of klishmat liyaser, and then we go weiter, Mitzvah Shem. The next topic is I made a little bit of a list. It's a geschmacka list. It's a list of all the 39 malachas, and that's the whole geschmack of muksa, is that really muksa opens you up to really the entire Hilchos Shabbos. Because now that we discussed what's a Kli Shemach Yeser, so now you have to know what are Kli Shemach Yeser. So you have to know the 39 malachas, and you have to look at each malacha and say, okay, so what are the malacha of bishul? So what are the kalim of bishul? What's the malacha of dash? What are the kalim of dash? So this was the list that I decided to make today, right? And then the third thing is that, I know it's always like a crowd pleaser to find out what Rav Chaim Kanievsky holds on certain of the shilas, right? So today, as Mazel would have it, I knew somebody that was going into Rav Chaim Kanievsky, and during the breaks, I asked him to ask him 10 shilas. He asked most of the shilas, and as Hashem, that way a lot of the shilas that we discussed over here, so that we could. So what goes first? What do you think? Chaim, that's always because you have to start the day with that. No, that's how you have to start the day. Okay, so now you're going to all be upset with me. I know why'd you ask that question, not that, because I'm the dictator, and that's how it goes. So if you have a problem with that, that's too bad. These are the ones. I don't know why these ones. There was a certain hashkacha afterward. I also was kicking myself. Why didn't we ask this? Okay. So one question I asked was like this. One question is that we said yesterday. Most of the questions were questions that we didn't get like 100% ourselves over here. So one question was, if you have a suffix a suffix that you're going to need the Kli Shemach Yeser. A suffix. It's not 100% that you're going to need that Kli Shemach Yeser. Let's say it's outside, like I said, the case of the looters. They're coming. They're going to take your hammer. You might need the hammer. So is it allowed to be moved, the Kli Shemach Yeser, when there's a suffix that you might need it? Okay. So that was a question. I was noted one way. We asked the Shaila to Rav Chaim, and Rav Chaim said that that's called the tzarech gufay. Tzarech suffix is called the tzarech gufay. Now, I have a little bit of Agnes Nefesh. Rabbi Lieberman asked me a question, which, and we saw the lumdis yesterday. What would be the lumdis? Because it's called the tzarech chayil. I'm moving it for today. The potential also is not called for tomorrow. That's how we explained it. Maybe explain it differently, but that's. Rabbi Lieberman asked me a question yesterday. That question might even be a better question. Let's say you have two cell phones. Like in the Gazak, you have two cell phones, and one of them the alarm is on. The alarm is on, and you don't know which one. That was your case. So you don't know which one the alarm is on. It's your wife's phone or your phone. You don't remember which one you put the alarm on Shabbos. You woke up before the alarm went off. You woke up at 7 o'clock. You know they're about to go off. So could you take both cell phones and put them under the clothing, the pillows, and whatever? Assuming the bars aren't moving, without all that rate, So are you allowed to move the cell phone to prevent it from going off? We call that a tzarech mekayimai, because I don't want it to ruin this market. So here, it's a tzarech mekayimai, or it's a suffix tzarech mekayimai. But it's a little bit different, because there, when I was moving the hammer to take it away from the looters, it was the potential of using this actual hammer. It's more in the positive. I might need this hammer. So therefore, if you ask me, why am I saving the hammer? I'm saving the hammer for Shabbos, and the fact that I might not use it doesn't make a difference. You know why? Because I'm definitely not doing it for tonight. That's the idea. If you ask me, why am I saving the hammer? I'm saving it for the potential use on Shabbos. That's all we have from Reb Chaim. This case is a little bit worse. Because in this case, when I am saving the room, right? So it's being megala that one of them is a total mistake. One of them is totally unnecessary. One of them, I just don't know which one, is totally not necessary to move. It's not the same case. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? It's not the exact same case, right? Wait, you understand it's not the same case? What? It's just He says, what if I move this one? When I'm moving it now, I'm moving her, that she doesn't ruin the market. That's interesting. And then once you're going to say that, then once you're going to say, that's what he's trying to say. And once you're going to say that, so then you can move them together. So interesting way of looking at it. He says, if you move one, why am I moving it now? I'm moving it so that it doesn't ruin the market. Why are you moving her? That it doesn't ruin the market. It's going to be Megala. Okay, I have Charat, I didn't ask. The way you're setting it up, it's interesting. I hear it a little bit. I'm doing it now that it shouldn't ruin the market. And then I have to move it. I'm not moving it for a choldik reason. Yeah. I'm noted that it would be mutter, especially the way you're saying. I was noted anyways, it would be mutter. And the way you're setting it up, what? If Yashiv said that, what? What did Rafak say? The Shitasa, he said Tzarech Shabbos. Yeah. The Shitasa, Tzarech Shabbos, yeah. That's number 2. Number 3 is I asked him about weapons. I asked him about weapons. You're allowed to move weapons on Shabbat. As the oldest, I said to the child, is it a Klish Machtal Yisr or is it a Klish Machtal Yisr or is it a Klish Machtal Heter? Like we saw that, to threaten is maybe the ikar usage, the primary usage of the gun. So the person who asked the Shaila to Chaim, the person who asked the Shaila, he didn't, he sort of asked it, the Reb Chaim said back, it's Pekuch Nefesh, it's mutter. So he said, no, even without Pekuch, he pressed it like that. So Chaim told him he should use the gun. It's like one of those stories you hear from Reb Chaim, like those interesting stories, like put the ball in the hoop, Arab shot, all those like stories. He said, you should tell him that every once in a while he should crack nuts with the gun. That's what he told him. So he wanted to get through the rest of the list. I could maybe explain what it means. That's a funny thing, It's no, it's like one of those stories, You think I'll be famous also? Because they'll say I was the one that asked. No? You think I'll get famous from it too? No? It's a geschmack. But no, I think he means like this though. I think he means he's dining on, I think he's dining like this. In other words, a gun he's taking on is, let's say, Klish Machtal Yisr. That you see from the conversation. He's taking on its Klish Machtal Yisr. So now he's saying, so he has to use it for Pekuch Nefesh. So every once in a while, he should use it to crack a nut. I don't understand it because he has everything else in the world that he could crack a nut with, right? So then what exactly is the mashmoyis of doing such a thing? Right? We know that if you can crack a nut with something else, then you're not even allowed to use the gun. So I don't know. This one didn't come out clear. What? I don't know. I don't know. Rabbi Ray says maybe he meant, this is why I had the conversation with the person, right? That's right, Rabbi Truk. He was the one that went in for me. I had this conversation with him about, he said maybe he means like you're saying that during the week he means to crack and over it, but then that's mamish t'miyah rabasi, right? Because 99.9% in the normal usage of this item is to kill people or whatever Chaim thinks a gun is, and then to crack a nut is not going to take away the shame of what the chefz is. So I don't know. This one I must admit did not come out clear. I have a lot to get through today. I'll answer you, but I'm saying from this point on, I'll give a few seconds to Don on each Shiloh because I have 83 things to say today, so you have to bear with me. What? And it's 3 parts and whatever, because if Chaim is sick, that's it. What? Okay, so then Rabbi say, if you're cracking more nuts than killing Arabs, you shouldn't be in the army. Let's, okay, let's go fight. I asked him the cell phone Shiloh. I asked him the cell phone Shiloh. Yeah. If you have a cell phone in the sink, I said the case of the crayon in the sink. You have a mux in the sink, right? Cell phone in the sink, mux in the sink. The way he asked it, Tim, was a cell phone, right? So first Chaim said a joke. He said you should turn on the water and destroy it anyway. So, but, he wasn't talking about the smart ones, or boys. He was talking about even the stupid ones. So, anyways, he asked him, "Are you allowed to turn on the water?" Yeah, let's turn on the water, and when because now you want to wash your hands, and so it's impossible. You're going to ruin your phone, you're going to ruin your crayons and whatever. So you're allowed to take out the crayons, or is that called you're saving the crayon michamal itself? Is that called for the sink, right? So Chaim said that's allowed. That's allowed. That is allowed. He didn't mechalik, Rabbi Lieberman, if it's somebody here made a nice chilik after the shir. He said maybe it depends on if it's crayons or a cell phone. Who was it? Made a nice chilik. Rabbi Feltzi. You want to say it depends if it's crayons. So the mice at the end of the day just going to wash your hands. So you see clearly you're doing it just for the crayon. At the end of the day, by the cell phone you're going to figure something out, but you're not going to do it. So it's clearly for the it's that's what you want to say. It's really ruining the makim. Ironically, because you're more concerned with the chamel itself of that one, therefore it's really ruining the makim. That was, somebody wanted to say a nice chilik of it. Akapanim Rav Chaim didn't make the chilik. He just said that that's called the tzarech of the makim. Even if it wasn't asked like that, I can't take rechayis for that question. Okay, Shaila asked him like this. Shaila asked him. This one I never spoke about the oilam with, and this is because I wasn't so sure. So Mela, I sent it. I should have told it to you guys first, though, but I didn't. So that's my prerogative. A wallet, a brand new wallet. You have a brand new wallet. What's a brand new wallet? A wallet is something that holds money. It holds credit cards, right? It holds all types of muksazachen. Right. So what's a brand new wallet? There's a hazmana on a brand new wallet. What's a wallet? It's something that will be doing isser. So it's a kli that services isser. When there's money in it, it's a basis. I'm saying when it's a brand new wallet. So what is she? She is someone that is going to be servicing muksa. That means she's oimid to hold muksa. That's her job. But hazmana lav milsa. We know all over Kalatar Kula. We always say that a hazmana for something. Hazmana, when you have das, you have zin to use it for something, you didn't start using it yet. So hazmana is not the milsa. We don't care about hazmana. We don't care what you plan on doing with something. And you see over here in the Mishnah Berurah, a few times you're going to learn in Mitzvah Shem that you guys are already learning in the Mishnah Berurah, the Bi'alacha. He says that concept a few times in Hilchas Moksa, that if hazmana is not enough. It has to be that you used it. It has to be you used it. So he sent the Shaila, what about a wallet? What's the difference? We should just say hazmana lav milsa. Meaning he never used the wallet yet. And it's very nega. This story was nega and me. There was a certain a child that was getting a wallet as a present. And the birthday was on Shabbos. Right? The birthday was on Shabbos. It's like a very fancy wallet. It had like some pink feline on it, right? What's her name? Hello Kitty, not Kitty, hello. No, Hello Kitty, Hello Kitty. No, it's a kitty, Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty. Hi, Kitty. This said it was a wallet, and what's it oimid for? It's oimid for like the 9-10 shekel that she has and whatever. Right? And I was thinking also it's going to make her so happy in Shabbos, but we don't have that after Simchas Shabbos. We saw and whatever. Okay, so but it's what is a wallet? Sachakol. A wallet is a klishim lachtal yisser once it's functioned and served as one, or it's a basis. But here it's just as mana. Just a moment. Here it's just as mana. I know we're going to use it for geld and for all the types of zachen. I was thinking a kid's wallet has a lot of like mutter dicker things in there also, right? But it also can have other, it can have other things in there. It can have like, who knows what the kid is. Sometimes the kid can have like mice in there. And who knows what it could be, right? Especially with if it's a kitty hello type of a wallet, right? But you get my point that I was dining mitzad hazmana. What's it din mitzad hazmana? So I thought hazmana, lav milsa, the Mishnah Berurah says, but I have svara that maybe it's different. Because you could say hazmana lav milsa on, a ladder, you can say hazmana lav milsa on all the things that mamish can go both ways. But if you have something, Bishlam, you have a hammer and you decide you're using a hammer for a mutter purpose. So you bought it for that, you change the purpose. I understand that you could do that, it's up to you. Mux is up to you. But if you have something which is like a hammer, it's oimid to be a hammer, it's oimid for Isser, and you plan on using it for Isser. So you're telling me until he uses it, it doesn't get the shame of a hammer? I thought that was weird. I think it's the same thing when it comes to a wallet, right? So now, I should have given you the shot first. Who thinks it's mutter? Who thinks mutter? So you think it's Aser? Who thinks it's mutter? Who thinks mutter? No, but it's going to be holding money and whatever. Who thinks mutter? Wait, I got confused. Who thinks mutter? Who thinks Aser? Thinks Aser? Who doesn't have an arm? It's like a bunch of armies of it. You don't know, right? I also didn't know. So I asked Chaim. Chaim said it's Aser. Chaim said it's Aser. So that's it. What? I kind of didn't send the Shiloh's kids well. Yeah, I don't think so. I didn't send the Shiloh's well. But again, you see that Lumdis. He's going to agree, Rabbi Isai, if you have a ladder and you decide you're going to use it for Isra, I don't think that's enough. That has Mana Lav Milsa. Rabbi Isai, don't get confused. Rabbi Isai, don't get confused. There's no question he agrees Hazmana's Lav Milsa. That's the Mishnah Berurah brings down 20 times in the Siman. The Bi'alacha brings it all over the place. The Mishnah Berurah brings it. He just means in something which is be'emes mamashal mitlekach, and you're telling to your das to that, and its surah is such. So then we say in such a case, that says a klishim machal. Yes, it makes sense. It makes sense. Well, yeah, okay, but that could be a problem. Okay, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay, now, okay, this. Okay, this one I also didn't tell you guys about. Shoes on Yom Kippur. Shoes on Yom Kippur. What are shoes on Yom Kippur? Is that a kli shemalachta l'isser? Is it muksa? What is that exactly? What? You're not allowed to wear a shoe on Yom Kippur, right? What? So Rabbi Yashiv held, this I asked the child of Rabbi Yashiv, he held a shoe on Yom Kippur is a kli shemalachta the isser. It's a kli whose function is to do isser. On Yom Kippur, you can't wear a shoe. That's what it's oymid to be doing something that's asr on Shabbos. So therefore, she's a kli shemalachta isser. You can move it to Kufa, you can move it to Mekan. That's like, yeah, sometimes, you have a shoe in there. It's just like not nice to have shoes there, whatever, Okay, not that it smells. That could be tzarech makom, or if you need the shoe to hit somebody with that, could be tzarech kufa. But I'm saying, let's say just I'm going to get the shoe out. That's a kli shemalachta isser for nothing. Okay. So Chaim held it's not muksa. It's not muksa. I made a fight, like an inter-families fight over there. It's a little fight over there. He held it's not muksa. It's not muksa. This shaila, I realize we're a bit young in, and we'll come back to it in Mitzvah Shem, but when we get to Gufa and whatever. But he held it's not muksa at all. I think that maybe I'm not sure if this is meaning maybe he's going to tell you, theoretically, are you allowed to wear shoes in Yom Kippur? Yeah. Let's say you'd have to walk somewhere and, your feet would hurt or something like that. So there are certain cases where we do allow you to wear shoes in Yom Kippur. The only thing is that today, Kimat, it's not Gemalt, the whole Metzias, because we have shoes and slippers and Zachin, which would take. So I wonder out loud if this child would have been asked differently, that let's say he has other types of shoes that are not, it would make it that he would never have to come on to that heter. I just wonder out loud, or no, he holds that bad since it's theoretically possible. I don't know. Something to think about. That's, excuse me, what? Yeah. A child is against the shame of a zachefza. That's what I'm not. Okay, this was the biggest chiddush that I ever heard from Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Ever. The next one this is like a half a big chiddush. This one is, so I asked him the shaila of the guy. The guy comes to the door. The truth is, I have charata now. I should have asked it even stronger. I asked, could you give the guy, I didn't have a havamina in the world. You can give the guy to go and knock in a nail. That's my first in the Mishabura. I don't think there's anything to discuss. That's the Mishabura, that's us. I don't have to ask that question. But I asked, could you give the guy the hammer? We were medayik in the Mishabura that you can't even give the guy the hammer to do a davar mutter. That's where we're medayik in the Mishabura. Rechaim said not like that. Rechaim said not like that. He said that you could give the guy the hammer if the guy is using it for a tzarech hamutter. And this one he was even adamant about. The person asked him, he said to him, what? What do you mean? It's not a tzarech Shabbos. And he said, no. He said the lashon of aksas das. He says not aksas das. And he was not makat das from any tzarech heter. And that includes any tzarech gufa shel heter, and therefore the guy is included. That's a big chiddush. That's the chiddush. It's not the biggest chiddush. The next chiddush is unbelievable. Unbelievable. What? I don't know. The way I was medayik the Mishabura, he's arguing the Mishabura. Let's see. Machlokes Kallus versus Rabbi Kanievsky and how to learn a Mishabura. Let's see who wins. Let's see who knows the answer. Who knows the answer? I'll give you a hint. There's no kasha. Yeah? What's the answer? So he's telling me I learned the Mishabura wrong. Game over. I never wrote a sefer on the Mishabura. I didn't write a Shein Halachas. I'm also not the Gadol Hador. And not only that, right? I also can't chazer Masechta Baba Basra in a second Seder. Right? So Mamela, he wins. So that's it. Al Kapanim, I don't know. We said whatever we said. So, I'm not Mekaymi. My Mekaymi is far, far under there. So therefore, he's right. The end. Game over. If Leroy knocks on the door and he says, can I borrow a hammer? You just ask him, what are you doing with the hammer? If he tells you, I'm just going to scare my wife, no problem. You can pick it up and you can hand it to him. If he tells you, I'm going to hit her on the head with it, so then you can't. Right? You tell him, I can't help you then. Right? I can't help you. So what would you do in that case? What would you do? You tell him where it is. What? What about what? Okay, but that gets involved, klish machli yisr, makim tzarich eva, this, that. Okay, I'm saying, if he's gonna hit you on that, okay, there is a heter of muksa, moving muksa. For chayla, we'll talk about a mitzvah shem and simichin kaf ches, there's a raya and sifyat ches. There's a heter of moving muksa at certain times. Tzarich mazik, we're gonna learn these things. Tzarich mitzvah. You want to hear an unbelievable thing? We spoke about this. Not very shy. We spoke about this, I think, in what was it? Elul, when we spoke about that shofar, all that raid. There's a raya from the Mishabura that if you have to move a shofar that's muksa, let's say they cut it off that day or something like that. I remember the case, or they cut off the lulav that day. You're going to miss out on the mitzvah of shofar and lulav. You're not allowed to take that shofar because she's muksa. You'll miss the mitzvah deraisa of lulav. You'll miss the mitzvah deraisa of shofar. Muktzah is a very, very chamerdika thing. There's no games. Okay, Muktzah is a very, very, very chamerdika gzeira. But this chiddush was whoa, it's a chiddush. The next chiddush. This is an unbelievable chiddush. You should know this is a big hashgacha because I didn't even think that this is a shaila. And when I said it yesterday to the other, I didn't even think it's a shaila. And I'm humbled. I'm humbled, mamish. I asked him, if let's say your wife was Makabel Shabbos, it could be anybody, right? Your wife was Makabel Shabbos, you were not Makabel Shabbos, and you ask your wife to pass you the hammer in order to knock in a nail. He held that's mutter. Unbelievable. I think it's the biggest chiddush I ever heard from the Bnei Brak front. It's unbelievable chiddush. That's unbelievable, that chiddush. Unbelievable. That it's not a tzarich Shabbos in the slightest. Here, Rafalk is going to come to be a machmir. Right? Rafalk is going to come to be a machmir. Rafalk, who is giving us the big kula, he's going to be a big machmir over here. He's going to say it's not a tzarich Shabbos, for sure not. Right? So what is this? Mazeh v'al mazeh. What? Tzarich now? No, it's tzarich gufay of. I'll be honest with you, I don't even understand it. I don't even know what possessed me to ask the question because it was pashut to me that it's aser. So the Torah says, you see that some things get ashkacha. What? I'm sorry? Yeah, because they weren't going to mimtzah chevzecha. Beseder, that was avada, because there's no xeris mimtzah chevzecha. There's no xeris mimtzah chevzecha. Fine, that's because the Mishnah deals with why, because it's beyond the Torah Shabbos. Here he's saying in the rules of Kli Shema Kli Yisrael, it's such an unbelievable chiddush. Unbelievable chiddush. What? Why is Mishra Mefurish? He's learning. Mishra says it's only for you. What do you want? What are you trying to cause trouble? What are you causing trouble? That's the Rav and Kate said. Well, that's such a big chiddush, no? No, you guys on TV, it's such a big chiddush. Rabbi Schlisselfeld, it's a big chiddush, no? It's an unbelievable chiddush, that, no? In Muncie, they don't have chiddushim like that, okay? What? By the goy held, you can give the goy, but not to do an isser. That's Mefurish Mishabur. That's also to ask the question. If you ask the question, you're an avarian. What? Sorry? No, he's married to a Jew, not a shiksa. What's he asking? What? She was Makabel Shabbos. You were not. You're the guy. Yeah. No, because he's okay. So he's saying since it's a. I think, yeah, I guess it'll be the same thing second day Yontif. What? I'm saying it'll be the Mistam in the same shot. I asked another shayla for the oilam that was here. You guys, you're new, so you're not going to appreciate this as much. But a shoelace, I like the shot. To take a new shoelace, we said it's usher to put a new shoelace inside a shoe. Right? Now you're not allowed to put a shoelace in for the first time. So I asked, it's a new shoelace muksa. Is it a kli shema kli yisr? It's a kli whose function is to do isser, right? There's nothing you could do with her except to, right? So is there anything you can do with her? What? Okay, where does a gartel? What if you're like very big? Like, small shoelace, big gartel, big. Small shoelace, big guy. What? It's not only meant to be a gartel. I could also use a hammer to scratch my back. What are you doing to me? You have a chodi. What? So what do you want to say? It's a klishach the heter, but right now it hasn't been put in. There's nothing I could do with her. It's interesting. That's what you're learning. Interesting. Well, I'll tell you what he said. No, I don't know why. It could be what you're saying is right. He said, I thought a different story. I thought there are things you could do with a shoelace. What could you do with a shoelace in regard to a shoe with the gartel and davening, without the frumazachin? What? You could put it in the shoe. You can put it in the shoe in a funny way, but it's not oimid for that, right? So I sent the Shaila. Chaim Kanievsky said it's mutter. He said it's mutter. Rabbi Lieberman says that I'm making a mistake. I thought he was saying it's mutter because you could do something with the shoe. So therefore, it's considered something with the shoe that you're allowed to do. So therefore, it's oimid also. It's not oimid to be in the shoe in that oifin. That's the reason why it would be mutter, and it won't be makav patish. But that's what I thought. He says, no, that's not the lumdus. The lumdus says is because be'atzim, a shoelace is oimid to be. No, you're strange. What are you talking about? But I would have to do a makav patish to do that. Who cares what it's oimid for afterward? Until that point, it's not yet in the shoe. So right now, it's a building block. Well, he says it's like an item across the Rosh Hashanah that you can't get to because you'd have to carry. Does that make her muksa? What's the comparison? Over here, there's nothing that it's oimid for that you could do with it, unless you say this far I'm saying, because you could do it in a weird way, right? Yeah, it's a big chiddush. It's like a big chiddush. That's why I asked the question. I don't know. It's a big chiddush. So I think I got all the questions. One thing, this we spoke about, this we spoke about, this we spoke about, this we spoke about. Okay, so those are the shilos to Reb Chaim, right? And then that's part one. Okay, that's part one. Okay, part two. Part two. So now it's like this. Excuse me, what? What's the difference between, no, the wallet, the pshat is that it's oimid for a davar muksa. That's going to be its reality, lo'ilam v'oilam natzach. So that Zman is yas milsa for whatever reason. Our case is not like that. Our case is you have to do one isser in order to get the usage out of it. But the usage of it is a davar shel heter, and we don't misyachas that one usage. Maybe like I'm saying, maybe a different shot, because what I'm saying is that you didn't need to actually do an isser. You could just put it in a funny way. I'm not convinced. It could be Rabbi Lieberman's malachas. I don't know. I don't know the answer. Come again? But right now, in this matzav right now, I got, you should know, I should know, I had tzad that it's a muksa machmas gufay. I had tzad that right now, it's a building block, and it's like a nail. A nail, what's a nail? A nail's not a kli shemachtal yeser. It's not a kli you do with. It's not a finished product yet. I had tzad that a shoelace is a kli that's it's not a kli b'chlal. I had tzad that it's a machmas gufay. If it's felt in the makkah b'patish, I had tzad that it's, the shoe. I wouldn't say that on, because technically you could wear the shoe. No, maybe, right? But the lace, I would have had a tzad to go so far. I don't know. He said it's mutter. It's unbelievable chiddush. That's my unbelievable chiddush. No, you know why I had the shaila? Because I always wondered, what are all the poskim talking about? You should take the lace, if it's new, and put it inside the shoe in a funny way. What are they talking about? It's muksa. That was my shaila, right? That was my shaila. What were they talking about? They say, take the lace and put it in the shoe in a funny way. What are they talking about? She's muksa. So their Chaim says not like that. What? Excuse me, what? Okay, so you may sound right. Well, yeah, no, you see, clear, it's not like me. It's definitely not like me. You're saying, anyway, it's a gishmak list, it's a goof. Okay, maybe. Yeah, that's true. That's not the biggest right. Okay, that's number one. Now, I still have to get to Rabbi Sheh. We're getting there. 1 minute, okay? Other Rabbi Sheh, because he was the one that said the chil. We're getting there. Now, maybe we should do that first. What should we do first? The list. I got the oil like lists, so it's a gishmak, makes you feel intelligent. No? So what should we do? Who wants the list, and who wants me to explain what the difference between Gufa and Mekayma is in the Tzarech? Who wants that? Who wants the list? Who wants the other thing? Who wants me to decide? All right, I'll decide. Okay, so it's like this. Anyways, I had two shilas, right? That child with the hand is bothering me with the crayon, and he's about to write on the wall. So what do? We came out that you can't take the crayon out of the hand. Is there any eitzah? Okay, so you can get a guy. We'll see in Mitzvah Shem. There's a lot of terim when Amir La'akum, like Lishmak Eliezer, you can get a guy, but you're going to tell Leroy to come to the house, right, to come and to take the crayon. Also, the kid's going to have years of therapy to remembering such an event. I don't know. That would work. You could tell the guy, Amir La'akum is mutter b'makom Lishmak Eliezer, he's allowed. Okay. Another thing you could do is could you take his hand and start shaking it? Just shake his hand, right? You're shaking his hand, you're not shaking it. So it's tiltul min hatzad. It'll be moving the crayon min hatzad. Tiltul min hatzad. The tzarech what? Tzarech davar mutter. What's the davar mutter? The wall. The wall being saved. That's a shtickle shayla nochos moksa. I had another svar, what you could do is, I was that kid in shul. I don't know which one of you guys were, but were you the aggressor in the shul? I was the one that they were always, taking my leg and doing all takes. They probably think that children like it when you take talasim and put them in their ear and whatever. So I was the kid that when I would come into shul, Shragi's here. I was the kid. So they would take my arm and do all types of these things and whatever, right? And I did nothing to deserve it, right, at all. So I remember one such thing that they would do is they would take the arm like this, right? And they would squeeze it hard until you dropped whatever was in there. You know what I'm talking about, right? So even if, you know what I'm talking about, right? So I was thinking that's another eitzah. No, that's the only reason I know about this. I was thinking that's another reason. That's another what you could do. You can go over to little Anshul. He's holding the crayon, right? You go like this to him, right? Now you're not doing any tiltum and atzad. He's memela on his own going to drop it. That's the best thing to do. I'm saying you might have to call child abuse afterward, but that's the best thing, huh? That's the abuse. That would be called abuse today. That's called abuse. Yeah, but when the kids call the parents by the first name, that's abuse. Okay, so that's another thing. What? Oh, so kicking muksa, we're going to see that's the Mishabura by us. Mishabura already tells us a remez that kicking muksa, moving muksa klachayad. The Mishabura does seem to say over here is mutter b'makom tzarich. That's a whole sugya when we're allowed to do that. And avad over here would be a good example of where I would allow you to kick muksa. What are you going to do? Kick the kid in the nose? What? You're telling me it's child abuse when I squeeze his arm and you're kicking him in the head. What? So you kick the crayon. Thank you. He's this big. The arm is this big. The crayon is this big. You know. I don't know. You know. So I was thinking one interesting idea. Can I take the crayon out of his hand? What? Why would I take the crayon out of the hand? Can I take the crayon out of the hand? Why am I going to take the crayon out of the hand? Because I'm not allowed to pick up Zundel, Zman that he's holding the crayon. When Zundel's holding the crayon, you're not allowed to pick him up. That the Mishabur we'll see later. That's in Simon Shintetz. It's a whole second. So now it's a sarich, not a sarich mokim. I need the mokim. The crayon is ruining the hand. I don't know, right? It's ruining Zundel. So I was thinking maybe it's Shtikla Rama, right? I want to pick up the baby. So the only way to pick him up is by taking the crayon and taking it out. Is that an interesting idea? No? Sorry? No, a child can never become a basis. Right? Sorry? You mean that it'll be good? It'll be good, yeah, maybe. It's okay. So it's a little bit totally in what's the extent of what I can't carry a child when he's holding muksa, but this might be a shtickle eitza. That might be a shtickle eitza. Okay, that's l'chayra. That's a chayra. Now, one last thing here before I go into my main topic of the day is like this. This is interesting. Okay, there was a child who was supposed to clean off a Shabbos table before Shabbos. You know, the table, it's not called the table, it's called the Shabbos table, right? And the child was supposed to clean off the table before Shabbos. And what was on the table was Erev Sukkos. And there was all these tools on the table and whatever. There was a child who came to ask me a story. Right? It's a great story. Somebody came to ask me a story in the shul. I kind of thought I'd said the story here, and I realized I never said the story. A child came to ask me this in the shul. What was the shaila? The shaila is that they set up the whole table and whatever for Shabbos in the sukkah. Okay, and Lemaisa, he was supposed to take off. There was still tools and zachan on the table from Erev Shabbos when they were making the sukkah, and he was told to do it. It has nothing to do with a child. It's this kid was like, I don't even know. He was wearing a hat. So it must have been just a bar mitzvah, but that has nothing to do with it. The shaila is the ikar. So he came to ask me in shul like this. He said to me, on the table there's a bunch of tools. Is he allowed to take off the tools? Right? So right away I said, Klish Mach Liyiser, Tzarech Mekoyma, you need the Makim, and whatever. Okay, whatever. But let's down to something else. Let's say you wouldn't need the Makim. Yeah, I'm saying it's a Klish Mach Liyiser, Tzarech Mekoyma. Is it Tzarech Mekoyma Derech Agav? You have like a tool back there. You could eat. Okay, let's say let's say let's say the case is that you could eat. And so what do you want to take it off the table? Because it's not covered for the sicker. It's not covered for the sukkah. I'll take out my violet. That's not going to go over here, right? Ramesha told us, go away. Ramesha said, go away. Ramesha said, right? Go away, Ramesha said. Don't bring those svaras here. Us? Oh, so maybe, not bad. He said, look, we know when you put a pot in the sukkah, so the pot makes the sukkah puzzle. So that is a very nice svar. I started thinking that also. That, you have a pot in the sukkah, it's a whole shot. It doesn't mean probably our pots, because our pots, maybe their pots were muksa and smelled and grafshel ray and everything. Our pots, Kallus holds are klisha malachta mitzvah, and klisha malachta heter and everything, right? But he says, come on, a pot maybe puzzles the sukkah, so maybe also a hammer and screwdriver and this puzzles the sukkah. Well, yeah, you wouldn't. The whole idea the Mishabura says is that you wouldn't have a pot in the table with grafshel ray and this and that. What? No, but the concept in general of having it in the sukkah. Why? No, it's a lack of covet. If you can't bring a pot into the sukkah, I certainly shouldn't be bringing tools and whatnot into the sukkah, right? No, Ramesh is saying it klapi when you're dealing with a klish like this, or that tzarech gufa, is that not a tzarech gufa? So he's saying that's the covet of Shabbos, right? But we agree that a sukkah has its rules chutz from Shabbos, even if it was Tuesday, right? If it was Tuesday, we would say also. The only thing I'm specific about is what is the nakuda that the Mishabur is bothered that you should have pots in the sukkah? Is because those pots smelled and were dreadful and were, So here, the tool is not smelly. It's just pots. I don't know, like that. But I was thinking like you also. Maybe that's one svar and that would ruin the market. And mamish ruins the makom, I can't make a bracha. Okay, the Maisa, at the end of the day, it was a sukkah, they needed the space, I had your svar. I kind of was thinking a third svar. Let's say the case is that the kid took it and he put it under the doif akuma, okay? It's under the doif akuma, it's not in a place where it's in the sukkah, he has enough room in the sukkah. But the mother told him that he has to take away these tools on Erev Shabbos, and he didn't listen to his mother. He said, I'm going to come home, I'm going to get yelled at. That was his shayla. Right? So he's doing Kli Shemach L'Yisr, Tzarech not getting screamed at. Tzarech not getting screamed at. We know what Rafalk would say. Rafalk would say it's mutter, right? What about the Aruch HaShulchan says Tzarech Gufay? I don't know. What? Kibbutz is not going to go over here because if your mother says, go and move the hammer. Why? Because I want you to. You can't. That's what the Gemara Yevamah says. Kulchem chayavim b'kfaydi. It's the same thing like Hashem Zaveda. It doesn't work like that, right? The mitzvah, Kibbutz Avein loses when she's telling you to be over. So it doesn't start. It's kind of, what? Okay, but now that I didn't do it, no. Right? You like the shayla? It's Geshmak Shah, no? Because he's like the Shah. It's Geshmak Shah. What's Kli Shemach L'Yisr? It's Tzarech that I shouldn't get yelled at. Right? What? Sorry? Come again? It's Kli Shemach L'Yisr. I shouldn't get yelled at. Again, in this case, it was mutter. Your svar, my svar, whatever. But let's say, Taka, you have a case. It was on the side and funny and whatever. It's a Kli Shemach L'Yisr that you shouldn't get yelled at. And it's nothing to do with the mokim, though, you know? That doesn't ruin the makim. It's klim shal. It's like klisha malachta leisser b'makim shviger. You know what I mean? It's like, or b'makim like, screaming mom, right? Or angry dad. I don't know. Something if it doesn't talk to me. If it's I don't know. That doesn't sound to me like it should be mutter. But okay, doesn't sound to me it should be mutter. Okay, now like this. Okay, so now let me explain one last thing here, and then we're going to do the list. This is very important. The Mishnah Berurah tells us a most wonderful chiddush, awesome chiddush from Mishnah Berurah, unprecedented. Mishnah Berurah tells us that if you have a Kli Shemach L'Heter, so then you're not allowed to use the Kli Shemach L'Yisr L'Tzarech Gufay. That's what it says in the Mishnah Berurah. I am a firm believer. There are rayas later on, which Amir Hashem will get to. I prefer not to do the rayas now because it's Sif Kattans later in Shulchan Aruch, it's Sif Yudal, Tezvav, which there might be rayas more to what I'm saying now. Today, I prefer to explain Mitzvara more because it's supposed to go into a whole entire Sif in Shulchan Aruch that the Olam didn't see yet. So right now, let's talk in Svara. Did the Mishnah Berurah say this chedesh when it comes to Kli Shemach L'Yisr, the Tzarech Mekoymai? Do I have to avoid the situation? Do I have to avoid the situation and say, there's a hammer on that chair, so why you have to sit on that chair? Go and sit on the other chair. We know that when it comes to smashing the nut, that the Mishnah Berurah told us beyond the shadow of a doubt, if you have the ability to break this nut without coming onto the hammer, you have no right to use the hammer. That's what it says in the Mishnah Berurah, and that's a psak halacha. Okay, so now let me explain this chiddush of the Mishnah Berurah. Do you think that the Mishnah Berurah means that, Kli Shemach L'Yisr is like a heter? It's like a heter. It's like nebuch. We have to be matir over here. We're matir. It's a heter. It's aser, and Chazal mattered it because the tzorich is so great. Something like that. Tzorich gufa is so great. Tzorich mekoyma is so great. So Chazal gave a heter, a kula. That's one way of looking at this entire sugya that we've been talking about till now. There's a whole different way of looking at the sugya, which is what the Avnei Nezer says, and the Ma'aseh the Avnei Nezer is 100% right. There's no shaila that the Avnei Nezer is right. He says it's a klal gadol and all the rabbanans, and it's the clear mashmoyas over here. We'll see in a moment in the Paiskim. He says that's not the pshat. Chazal didn't aser kli shemalach le'isr b'makim. It's the tzarech of gufay. It's not aser. It's not aser. It's not a heter. So they're in a place where you need the makim. They didn't aser either because there's no tzas das on it. Either this. The Chazal lifted the gzeira. Shtal zich vor. Before the whole entire gzeira, nothing was aser. Because they came along and they said this is mutter. This is mutter. So now they said this is mutter. They went back to what was. It's not aser. It's not aser if there's a tzarech of the goof. It's not aser if there's a tzarech of the makim. The Avnei Nezer says by D'Rabbanans, it has to work like that. That's his klal. He proves it from Kol HaTorah Kula that in D'Rabbanans in general, Chazal they don't work like that. It's hey mamru ve'hey mamru. That doesn't work. That Chazal made a heter. That doesn't work like that. Chazal said this thing is aser. If they think this thing is mutter, so then it's hutra. They just don't aser that thing. He said the truth is, I can prove it like this. Lo shemanu ever. No one ever heard ever that you have to avoid situations of moving Kli Shemach L'Yisr. You have to Erev Shabbos go and buy extra kalim so that you'll be able to. It's not a heter. It's not a heter. Chazal didn't answer. The truth is, I don't feel that my contract is mechayiv me to prove this because I think it's pashut. I think it's pashut when you see the sugi. I think it's pashut like that. Okay, if that's an hashkafa, what? The Shulchan Aruch doesn't say, okay, you say it like that. Rabbi Lieberman says, nobody comes along and says like, you're allowed to eat nuts if you're like really, really, you need to get the Mea Brachas, so there's the Shtukim Breida, so you have to eat the Mea Brachas, so you're allowed to go and have a peanut or this, crack it open with a hammer. It doesn't say that, and of course it doesn't say that, because it's not a heter, Chazal didn't answer. I think that's Pasha, and that's the one thing that you have to have a little bit of Amunah for, but it's not a lot of Amunah. It's just a little bit. It's Mamish Pasha. That's the Pashas. Void L'Shemanu Erev Shabbos, that there's a din to go around and move hammers, because you might need the makim, or there's no din to make sure that you have things that you'll be able to crack nuts with and whatever. It doesn't sound like that. This is a din that I saw one kid to say, if he says that you maybe have to, if you see that, it's not true. You have to, on Shabbos, if there's a tzarech gufay, you're allowed to use it, but, says the Mishabura, now chiddush, so what's this chiddush? Says the Mishabura, but if you have a Kli Shemachtal Heter, so then, says the Mishabura, you have to use the Kli Shemachtal Heter, you're not allowed to use the Kli Shemachtal Yeser. So let's see, well, how does the Mishabura say this chiddush? Because that's already, what's that all about? If they never answered. They never answered. So what does the Mishabura say? Mishabura, he writes like this. He says, what does our Rabbi say? He says, Bein l'tzoyrech gufay, u'mayrish ein le'kli heter, dilavachi ein le'shtamish b'kli. He doesn't explain. Yisagar aleinu saderech, right? My lave tells me that the dibra maschel, you have to know a little bit about the style of the Mishabura here. So why is the dibra maschel bein l'tzoyrech gufay? Why doesn't he just say gufay? You have to know a little bit the style of the Mishabura if you can appreciate such diukim. I'm asking that it's not a muchak dikadiak, but at least my lave tells me a little bit over here. And the truth is, if you look in the Rashba, in the Sugya, it sounds very much like this. The Mishabura is telling avada kli shemalachtai le'isr is mutter and was never asered when there's a tzarech gufay or a tzarech mekaymai. But it's not called a tzarech. It's not called a tzarech because you can get the same exact desired result. That's what the Mishabura is saying. It says in Mishabura, you want what? You want nuts cracked. You want nuts cracked. That's so if you want nuts cracked, you are allowed to have nuts cracked on Shabbos. However, it's not a tzarech. If I could take instead a pot lid, I hold the pot this kishmach. You could take a pot lid and break the nut instead. So what gives you a right to use the hammer? That's a whole different world, what I just said, Rabbi said. I just said it's a whole different world. The Mishabura did not say, according to this type of Havana, that Nebuch, you have to try to avoid the Shaila, try to avoid Erev Shabbos, try to avoid it on Shabbos. Who asked you to have a Zayfil nuts while you're eating so much? Mishabura never said that. Mishabura just said, the heter is Klish, Malachta, the Isser, Tzarech Gufay. Now you read the Sharatzian, and he says his Raya is from this thing of the Rebbe Lazar, the whole story there. Yeah, so Rebbe Lazar went much further. He said you can get the desired result of being mafshit this animal, of skinning this animal by putting up your arm. So then don't start with anything because it's not a tzarech. Of them kumt chachamim, like we saw yesterday, and the chachamim argue. So what's the reason why the chachamim argue? Because chachamim say, no, that's mamish already a tzarech. To have to skin an animal where my hand is like falling off, right? And you have a ganze shawarma on your arm, that's not called that it's not a tzarech. You can't say that's not a tzarech. When you have, let's say, you have nuts over here, so you want to use the hammer. Why? Because it's right here. Do you want to just use the hammer? Why do you have to use the hammer? You can have the exact same result. What do you want? So that's what you have to do. Says the Mishabura, you always have to look at the tzarech. So is that crystal clear, Rabbi Say? We just explained Pashut Chad the Mishabura. What's nafkamina? Nafkamina is tzarech mekaymai. Tzarech mekaymai. There is no Mishabura that says that you have to avoid klish machta yisel tzarech mekaymai. Why does the Mishabura not say that you have a hammer on a chair? So Mishabura should say you're allowed to take the hammer off the chair and sit on the chair, but that's only if there's no other chair. That's only if there's no other spot or whatever. Mishabura doesn't seem to say it. They'll see this lump. This is very good. Very good. Rabbi say, the Mishabura, the rule is like this. You can't tell me what's a tzarech. You can't tell me what's a tzarech. I'm allowed to have a tzarech. Perega I have a tzarech because I didn't ask that thing. I'm allowed to have whatever tzarech I want. Right? Why do you have to have more peanuts? There's got the Zayfil Bamba. There's got the Zayfil Doritos extreme over here. Right? You have the Zayfil. Why do you have to have the peanuts? So I answer back. Don't tell me what to eat. You can't tell me what to eat. I don't tell what you what to eat. I don't tell me what to eat. I can eat what I want. I'll eat you if you don't say it. I eat what I want, right? Kli shemalachta li'itzer b'makim soyrich is mutter. I have a tzayrich. Nobody came along and said, your tzayrich is not chashiv. That's very insensitive. Right? I have a right to have whatever tzayrich I decide. The only question they could say is you can get the desired result anyway, so you have no right to move the kli. You only have a right to move the kli for a tzayrich. Okay? So then if you don't have a tzayrich in it, because you can get the desired result. So when it comes to sitting on a chair, I want to sit on that chair. What are you going to tell me? Sit on a different chair. So I'm not going to get my tzayrich. What are you going to tell me? I want to sit on the chair. What are you going to tell me? There's other chairs. Go and sit on that chair. I want this chair. You can't tell me which chair to sit on. I want this chair. That's a tzayrich? Yeah. Well, why not? It's, loy mevoi if that chair is more comfortable. Loy mevoi if that chair is in a certain position. Where, even if not, right? I'm allowed to decide I want to sit on that chair. Why not? Why in the world not? So, because what is it that you want? The hammer is the means of getting the result. What do I want? No. That's, again, you just said the words. You just said how you want it. It's not up to you how to do it. It's up to me. I'm God. It's not up to you, right? It's up to me. It's up to Chazal. It's up to us. You're allowed to decide you have you want a certain result. You're allowed to decide on the tzrachim. We're going to tell you how to get that tzarech. But you're allowed to decide only one thing. Kli shemelachta le'itzer is mutter b'makim tzarech. This, that. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, you can get your tzarech. You're going to have your peanuts. You have nothing to cry about. You're going to get your coconut. Okay? But you're not using this. You're going to use the hammer. You're going to use the pot lid. You're going to use something else. Okay? Now you're going to come along and say, I want to sit there. I'm going to say, no, don't sit there. Sit there. What's wrong with you? Stam chumras. What's wrong with you? Don't tell me where to sit. I want to sit. It's a free country. Actually, it's not anymore. But it's it's a free country. Used to be a free country. You're not going to tell me where to sit. I sit where I want. Whatever, right? That's the idea. Now watch. It gets confusing a little bit. Even I'll admit, it gets a little bit confusing. Because watch, it comes out that within Gufos sometimes, and within Mekoimos sometimes, it's going to come out that the logic that we're saying, it's just that 99% of the Gufa cases, what I said is true. 99% of the Mekoimos cases, what I said is true. And that's why it doesn't bother me. But watch, let's say you have on the shelf, it's a chiddush. I'm telling you a chiddush right now. It's something to think about. I'm not even so sure myself. Let's say I have a Gemara on the shelf. You have a shelf of Gemara, and there's the Bubba that you need, right? So there's the Bubba right there. In front of the Bubba that you need is Yana Hammer, right? We have to thank Hashem for hammers because that's everything. Right? So there's Yana Hammer in front of the Gemara, okay? So the logic we just said, it should come out interesting chumrah. This is an interesting chumrah. It comes out, I can move the hammer, because it's a tzarech mekoimah to get to the Gemara. Yeah, but why do you have to move the hammer? Why don't you take out all the Gemaras, Why don't you take out Gemaras after Gemaras after Gemaras, and then you'll be able to go that way. Everyone understands something. If you don't know, that means you never learned. So everyone knows what I'm talking about. So you take out the Baba Kama, you take out the Baba, yeah? You take out Yana Baba. What? Okay, so now you'll have to get involved in levels of extremity of tircha. Rabbi Feldstein's saying, by default, it could be, that's so crazy tircha that it's ready to fill. Okay. Debatable. Yeah, nish. It depends how far. If it's the bubba's over here and the hammer's over here and I just have to move one over, it'll come out that the logic I'm saying is that we look at the tzarech and the tzarech is the result. The other way also. Let's say I like sleeping on hammers. Why? Illness. Sure. That's what I like doing. Right? I like sleeping on hammers. You have a problem with that? I like sleeping on hammers. Okay? So now I want to sleep on this hammer. So now what are you going to say? That's a tzarech gufa. Right? I need to take the hammer and put it on my bed so I can sleep on it, whatever. Right? So you can say, no, go and sleep with go and use a pillow. No, I want to use the hammer. Right? So if you that, it'll come out that even in a gufa case, even if I have a different option, we're not because here the lumdus is I'm allowed to decide I want that result. In other words, when the gufa is the result, it's not like you said, right, Felsi, you understand what I'm saying, right? It's not like when I say I want to use the hammer to do it, right? So that's now everyone understands the chiluk I'm making, right? I think you're there, Rabbi Shai, no? Come again? I don't know. I'm admitting this is a kasha on the Malach I'm saying, because Rabbi Sher says this is very, very sasim. Because Mishabur just says, Sarach Gufa, you always have to get another kli. Sarach Mekoimai, Mishabur never says anything. It sounds like every Mekoimai case is mutter. It sounds like every Isser case, it is a bit sasim. The only thing is that it's not the klape, the conventional cases of what the Mishabur is talking about. Like if you look in the Mishabur, what is called tzarech gufay, what is called tzarech mekayma, right? He says like this. I still have one line. He writes. One second. Right. Let me add this. Give me one moment. You're asking good. That's why I'm an honest fellow. That's why I was, in Hebrew say mitnatzel. I apologize for, there is something here which is a little bit daichik, but what did the Chazaynish say? Roiv tchukim are emes. Not roiv emes is daichik, right? But roiv tchukim are emes over here, I don't see much of a breira. The truth is, you look in the Rishonim, it's at the first, that's what they're saying. They're at the first, when they talk about this idea that Klish Makli Yisr, Chazal Aser, Tzarech Gufay, Tzarech Mechayim, Tzarech Shabbos, when they explain this idea of Tzarech Shabbos and they mattered it or whatever, so you see they're always dining on the Tzarech. They're dining on the Tzarech and what's yes Tzarech. So I'm pretty sure this is just for example, to give you a little bit of rayas to this idea. In the Orchos Shabbos, he doesn't agree with this concept. He says no, by bein gufay, bein mekoymai, you have to always avoid the situation. He says, I got him back. But whatever was aser, tzarech gufay, listen closely. Whatever was aser tzarech gufay, the Gemara says if it's aser tzarech gufay, so then it's kol shekain. So there was one time that they found tefillin was on the floor or something. Now tefillin, we're going to learn in Yitzhak Hashem, that tefillin might be a klisha malachtoi leheter. That leser. It's not that tefillin is a klisha malachtoi eser. We're going to learn about this in Yitzhak Hashem next week. That tefillin is a klisha malachtoi eser possibly. So he said the tefillin was on the floor. So they asked the Chazon Ish, what should they do? So Chazon Ish said, go and sit on the floor. So some bring the story that the Chazon Ish went and sat on the floor. But the Chazon Ish said, go and sit on the floor, pick up the tefillin and say, you want to sit in that place. So what do you see from that story? What do you mean? There's no other places to sit? There's no other places to sit? What do you mean? Who gives you a right to sit over there? There's no other places to sit. So Elamai, what do you see from here? That when it comes to tzarech mekaymai, so then we don't say you have to choose somewhere else. And you have a right to say, no, I want to sit there. I won't get the desired result of sitting right there. Right? Now, the manamitas hadavar, I have a very hard time with this story. Is that clear? It's a raya brewer to what we said, that only by klisha machliyas and tzarech gufay, because there we say you're going to get the tzarech anyways. Right? So if you're going to get the tzarech anyways, so then Chazal didn't. Mashenkeit by tzarech mekaymai, you're not going to get the result. You can't tell me where to sit. So this will come out. This Shabbos. If you have a seat you want to sit in, and the item is there, you're allowed to pick up that item and sit there, and we're not going to tell you to sit somewhere else. That's what comes out. Now, Lamana Midas Adavar, I am bothered by one thing. I'll finish this year. This tomorrow I'll do the list. Don't worry. It doesn't go bad. But Lamana Midas Adavar, I'm bothered by one thing, which is Harama. No matter what, you have to ask this question. Mishabura says in Sivkot Tes Zayin, and Mishabura says, you are allowed to do harama for a Kli Shemalach Al Yisr. What does that mean? That means the Mishabura says, you're allowed, let's say the hammer's outside, there's a band of angry looters, and they're coming for your hammer. So what are you allowed to do? Says Mishabura, you're allowed to say, oh, quick, let's go have coconuts. Let's go have coconuts quickly, right? And you're going to go and crack open a coconut. Okay, now first of all, that's you're allowed to do. Why? Because I'm using the Turkuva. First of all, it's the biggest riot to everything we said today. Why? Because you should right away ask, what's going on here? A minute ago, he didn't need a coconut. He's creating a tzoyrich. He doesn't even want a coconut. He doesn't even want a coconut. So what's going on over here? We just said you have to avoid the situation. The Torah says, we never said you have to avoid the situation. If you have a tzoyrich, you're allowed to make up a tzoyrich even. Once you have a tzoyrich, you're allowed to do whatever, then you're allowed to. So obviously the case that Mishabura is talking about is that you're allowed to think of something, ingenious as I need a coconut and I don't have any other kalim that have the ability to crack coconuts. And then you're allowed to create a tzayrich. The way we set it up, it's pashut beautiful. Again, if you learn that Kli Shemalach Al Yisr is like some nidcha dika heter nebuch, we only make it when we have to, so then harama makes no sense. Because what is Harama saying? Harama is saying mefoirish, not like that. Harama says you could make up a tzayrich and create a tzayrich, and what are you talking about? You're supposed to avoid it, if anything. Until now, you didn't even want the coconut. And now all of a sudden, you're deciding you want a coconut in order to save the item. It's a steer into the whole. The way we set it up, it's mamish beautiful. It's very simple. That's the biggest raya to this. That Kli Shemalach Al Yisr, when there is a tzayrich, it's never been nesar. But, and that goes without saying. It's going to have to be within the parameters of what we just said. So if you have a hammer outside and the angry band of looters are coming to take your hammer, so what do? You could right away think of something that I don't have a Kli Shemalach Al Yisr for, and you could create a tzayrich. And then you'll take that hammer and you'll get your coconut, which you couldn't have got other. What do you mean? What do you mean? Who asked you to have a coconut? You can't say that. You can't say that. That's a gewaldige riot to everything we're saying, right? The only thing is that I'm bothered by something else. So then why can't I upfrag the whole entire Hilchos Muktzah now? Okay, I'll end with this kasha, but why can't I frag up the ganze? All of Muktzah is over. What do I mean? All of Muktzah is over. If I say everything in the world, I'll decide I want to sit on the shelf. Right? I have a Kli Shemalach Al Yisr on. No matter what, you have to ask this question. I'm not shy, right? I have a hammer on the shelf, and I don't like the hammer on the shelf. It's not blocking the mark. I just don't like it. It's pasnish. It's not balabatish. What was the word we said the other day? It's nish haimish. So what am I going to do? I'm going to climb up on the shelf. I'm going to sit on the svarim tray, right? Well, you say, no, that's a little bit weird. And they're going to break, and maybe you're not allowed to sit next to svarim. So fine. So I'll go over there, and I dafka want over there that my glasses should be there. That's why I want my glasses. You can't stop me. That's my tzarich is to put my glasses. I need the mokim. You can't stop me. I want my glasses there. You can't stop me. That's why I want my glasses, right? So what's that? What's that? So then we can frag up the whole entire Hilchos Muktzah. Because now that we said by Mekoimai, and who's your kasha on? Your kasha's on me? That's a kasha straight on the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish taught me that. The Chazon Ish said, you have a pair of tefillin on the floor, go sit down on the floor. Right? So now I'm going to tell you what I would answer, but the problem is that it doesn't work with the story of the Chazon Ish. What I would answer is, what's it does? This chiddush of harama, this is a chiddush of the Mishabura. It's like a chap. It's like a chap, it's a chap. It's a chap of the Mishnah Berurah. That I got an idea. You have this hammer outside, band of angry looters. So I got an idea. I go and create a tzayrich, and then you'll be able to do it. Harama, the Magen Avraham brings a Yerushalmi, it's a ganze sugya. It's the regular rules of harama. The Aruch HaShulchan says it's only mutter if there's a hefsid, a big tzayrich. It's not like some einfalt, it's a harama. It's a sugya of harama. It's a ganze sugya of harama. It's not such a. See, in the rules of the Rama, everybody knows in the rules of Rama, you can't do a Rama Nikaris. You can't do a Rama Nikaris. You can only do a Rama when it's not Nikaris. But if it's a Rama, you're not allowed to just do a Rama. So then, it's pashit that if you have tefillin on the floor, again, pashit, I don't know the story, and it seems to be the story happened. I'll explain to you why maybe in a moment. But you have tefillin on the floor. You're going to go and sit on the floor because you need that market. There's Ein L'chal Rama Nikaris Kol Mitzvah. Of course it's aser. Of course it's aser. So what's the story of the Chazon Ish? The Chazon Ish probably yelled that tefillin is a Kli Shemalach Al Yisr anyways. The Chazon Ish probably yelled anyways. Tefillin will see b'makid b'zayin kisvei kodesh this kulas. The whole story, I don't know if it's a raya klape anything, right? So Al Kapanim, when all the dust settles, it comes out like this. Let me just make a sikkum. It's very simple. When you have a tzarech, so then you have a right to decide you have a tzarech. If you can get that desired tzarech without doing too much tircha, what's called too much tircha, yesh laden. But if you can get that desired result without doing too much tircha, you have to try to get that desired result without doing without using the klishim matliyasa, because it's not called tircha. If the desired result requires me to do some weird thing, go to neighbors, no, then it's called not called I can get the desired result. What's the cutoff point? Good kasha. Okay. When it comes to me kaimai, and if I could decide I want peanuts, I could decide I want coconuts, and I could also do a rama. If I decide I want a coconut, that's a ramani karas, I'm eating the coconut now. So it's not such a ramani karas, so that's okay, right? But it's got to be that you didn't have something else to break the coconut, okay? When it comes to the kaimai, so like we said, 90% of the time, technically, I want that chair. I'm allowed to sit on that chair. I'm allowed to sit on that chair. And that's not a ramani karas. I want to sit on that chair. I'm allowed to sit on the chair. I like that chair. I like sitting over there. I'm allowed to sit there. It's my prerogative, right? No, you have a hammer on a shelf, you have a hammer, whatever, you have 50 chairs, there's a chair in the back there where nobody sees and whatever, and you're going to decide you're going to sit in a chair where nobody sees. You can be getting into Ramani Karas. That would be the issue here. Inside how Ramani Karas could be the issue over here. And a Ramani Karas, of course, is also, it's not the Einfeld of the Mishnah Berurah. Right? Is it crystal clear? Everybody's clear? So everybody's clear? Clear? Crystal clear. So now tomorrow we finish the list and go back. Okay, today I come in. So if anybody, I'll come in. Upstairs. I come in today. It worked until the end, Rabbi Greenberg. The last 5 minutes. Wait. Oh no, I lost it. Why did that happen?